If you continue heat training over several weeks and keep stacking this training on top of each other, your body will also begin increasing total red blood cell mass. Ooh. Hey, and today I welcome you into one of the more important pieces of training gear that I own, which is this sauna here. I will be doing one of my least enjoyable training sessions after I finish recording this video, and I'm not recording the video during my session because my camera will totally overheat and potentially get damaged. And I honestly don't think I would be able to talk with much mental clarity in the middle of it. And you probably don't want to see me with my tits hanging out. Probably. Maybe you do, you sick puppy. But for now, we are here mostly to hide from my cats and my wife because I'm leaving to Pakistan in only a few days and my shit is all over the place in our house. She is not happy about it, but maybe she won't find me here. Enough bad humor. So over the last 3 years or so, heat training became a regular part of my preparations before major expeditions as well as endurance events like ultramarathons. I actually learned about benefits of heat training while I was training for a 100-mile ultramarathon. David and Megan Roach have a great podcast called Swap, which has multiple episodes on heat training. And if after watching this video you want to go down a major rabbit hole, I would suggest that you start there because the amount of information they share about all kinds of topics, including heat training, is just quite amazing. One of the main adaptations is an increase in blood plasma volume. Think of plasma as liquid part of your blood. When your plasma volume increases, your heart can pump blood more efficiently. That generally means your whole cardiovascular system becomes more efficient as well. Your heart rate at a given effort is often lower and your body does a better job delivering oxygen during your long efforts of work. For mountain climbers, spending all day carrying heavy packs and climbing thousands of feet, spending time crossing hot glaciers and trying to recover for another day, likely on the following day, those are the kind of adaptations that we want. Heat acclimation can also improve your body's ability to regulate temperature, increase your efficiency in sweating. It's also good for mental toughness training and should provide some physiological adaptations that overlap with altitude training as well. It does not replace proper ways of acclimating at actual altitude, but it can be a good supplemental way to prepare before you go to higher altitudes. One of the more interesting theories I heard from David Roach, which made me believe heat training is important before high altitude expeditions, is in the fact that most consistent adaptation from heat training is an increase in blood plasma volume, which rises in the first couple weeks. But the best benefits come later. If you continue heat training over several weeks and keep stacking this training on top of each other, your body will also begin increasing total red blood cell mass to better match that larger blood volume that you've been building up. Since you have more plasma, your red blood cells will try to catch up. So it's not as diluted. So then when you arrive at altitude, your body naturally sheds some of that extra plasma over the first few days, and you will have a bit more red blood cells than you would otherwise. At least that's the theory and something that makes sense in my own brain. And that's why you pee a lot more in the first days at high altitude. Your body is trying to increase concentration of red blood cells available in your vessels so that they can carry more oxygen more efficiently. Next time you are on an expedition, pay attention to how much you pee in the first couple days at 14,000 feet. For me personally, it is not uncommon to fill up my 2-liter pee bottle every night, no joke, for about 2 to 3 nights straight. And that's something that I've seen happen consistently over the last couple expeditions. So the theory is that you're not arriving at altitude starting from scratch. It's kind of like poor man's high altitude adaptations. And instead, you're showing up with an expanded blood volume and possibly a head start in total red blood cell mass, which is a huge benefit in my opinion. It may help make the transition to altitude a little smoother, even though heat training is absolutely not a replacement for proper acclimation, as I said. For things I want to do, I'll take any small advantage, even though I bet many of you may think this is super excessive, and I was honestly sort of on the fence about sharing this, but I know I shouldn't be ashamed of taking alpinism very seriously. I want to reach for the stars and give myself every little benefit that I can find. So a lazy ass approach is just not the way to get there, at least not for me. And I don't want to act like people who make it look like they're not trying very hard, because that's not the reality for pretty much everyone that does well in any sport, at least in my observation. So once I started learning about the research behind heat training and trying it for myself, I felt like it was well worth the investment. Elite trail runners, cyclists, and other all kinds of endurance athletes have been using heat training for many years as a tool to improve performance. And I see loads of elite endurance athletes who are using it consistently, including people like David Roach, who set a new course record at Leadville and many other races. So I think it's a tool worth considering if you're preparing for a big expedition as well. Now, here's what I do personally, but please do your own research. I am not an expert. Exposure to heat can kill you if you overdo it, so please don't be an idiot. And if you start feeling dizzy, get out and hydrate very well. Do all the things that your mom would like you to do to stay safe. My personal protocol is very similar to what David Roach recommends in his podcast, and it's based on a lot of research done on endurance athletes over many years. I start about 6 weeks before a major expedition or a race. Before a race, I usually start more like 8 to 12 weeks out, and I just continue to do this a couple times a week, even if there's no expedition on the horizon. Having a sauna at home makes the consistency much easier, obviously, but pretty much every climbing gym has one, so I'm pretty sure most of the people watching this video have some sort of access to a sauna. I also have a treadmill and a stationary bike at home in order to make all these things much easier. So after a couple hours of cardio, I head into the sauna because I want my core temperature to be already elevated when I get here. and I set up my sauna for about 180 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit, depending where in my adaptation that I am, and based on how I feel. Because on some days, I feel better than on other days. And I gotta say, I spend roughly 20 to 30 minutes inside. I usually shoot for 30, but on some days you are more depleted than on others. I also cover my head with a thick hat to protect my brain from overheating. I find it's much easier to last longer inside if my head is covered. And on some days, I'm just short on time, and even getting 20 minutes with no cardio is better than spending no time in the sauna at all. So I'm aiming for 4 to 5 sessions each week throughout that 6 week buildup, or 8 or 12 week buildup. But at least 3 is a minimum. And a week before the expedition, I aim for about 3 sessions in the sauna, because I do a bit of a taper. Because doing sauna is additional stress on your body, even though it may not feel like it. The goal isn't to see how much suffering you can tolerate, but to consistently expose your body to enough heat and also be able to recover before you go on your big trip. In other words, be consistent if you are starting anything. Otherwise, it's just like pissing in the wind, which is something that I personally try to preach here on this YouTube channel. And I preach consistency, not pissing in the wind, obviously. Hydration is also extremely important if you choose to expose yourself to these heat stress situations, to heat adaptation. You're losing a huge amount of fluid during your cardio and then in the sauna. So make sure to drink plenty of water and replace electrolytes before, during, and after all my sessions. And also pay attention to your heart rate. I usually have a heart rate monitor, at least on my watch, but also an arm band or a chest strap works really well. If it looks like you're working in zone 3, you should probably cut your session short if it gets that high. Will heat training help you become a better climber? Probably not, but now I used this protocol before several expeditions and ultras, and every time I prepare this way, I arrive feeling a bit stronger and feel more comfortable with long days in the mountains. And maybe that's partly because of the extra plasma volume. Probably it's more because my cardio fitness is slowly improving as well, or it's a combination of all these small adaptations. But whatever the reason, this became part of my training regimen, so I wanted to share it for full transparency, and maybe it will help somebody also improve a little bit at a time in the future, with full understanding that this is not part of conventional pre-expedition training that most people do or recommend. You still need to build up a huge aerobic engine. You still need to get stronger, do your strength training, climb a lot, and spend time carrying a heavy pack. That's obvious. And you still have to acclimate properly once you're in the actual mountains. But if you're already doing all those things well, I think heat training is something that can benefit you and something that you can add to all the basic things that you already are doing. I'd love to hear if any of you have experience with heat sauna training or any heat acclimation before expeditions. I just haven't heard of many people trying it. There are other ways of doing it aside from sauna as well. You're welcome to research them further, but hot baths is another great way. and may work better for most people who don't have access to a sauna. So research it for yourself if it feels like it's something that's right for you. And if you do this already for climbing, let me know. What protocol are you using, and if you feel like it gave you any benefit. Well, I think this is pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Please like the video if you found it somewhat interesting. And finally, we did not get interrupted by a cat, though I see him looking at me from the outside. I swear he is there. I'm probably in Pakistan right about now. So also please pray for me and my whole team to whatever God you worship, or just send some nice thoughts our way, because we will need every gram of luck and positivity from the universe that we can get. We are hoping to attempt a new route on a really big and inspiring peak, which unfortunately killed two well-known climbers in the past. So mentally preparing for this trip has been kind of difficult. And I was only invited on this trip because one of the original members of the expedition team that I joined was killed in a climbing accident. So I don't know, it's just super weird. And in the same time, I'm really excited about attempting the route itself, but just not everything else around this that's going on around this trip. It's been just kind of weird mentally thinking about all these things before going on possibly the hardest climb of my life, as well as some other personal stuff at home. Well, sorry to leave on this note. Maybe I'm oversharing, but I will come back and I will be in better mood. And I hope your goals are less mentally straining and your physical and mental health is doing very well. And I will see you another time. Fingers crossed.